Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Samantha and this is Planted. So I'm not entirely sure, and I love saying so. I've noticed that. I'd be like, so. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure if this video is going to be part of my next video where I'm going to be repotting some plants, but I don't think it will. I think this will just be a separate upload. We'll see. It just depends on how long this video is going to be. Anyway, I wanted to come on here and give you guys the update that I had promised in my last video. And I wanted to let you guys know why I had been MIA, inconsistent, the past year, 2025. If you don't already know, I am a plant content creator. I love sharing with you guys my tips and my tricks on how to take care of your plants and how to make them just flourish in your home, and ways to propagate them and all those other fun things. Outside of that, I'm also a teacher. I teach culinary arts, so I'm also a chef, period. And I also do food content on my other platforms, Sam's Table. So outside of those things, I just want to give you guys a little background. If you are new to my channel and you don't know who I am, that's what I do. And last year in 2025, I started really strong. I was living in my first solo apartment. I was really excited. So I was making content and I was on my game. And then around March, I want to say, I moved out of my old apartment and was moving into my new one. And I had told you guys like, yeah, I'll be back. You know, I'm just in the process of moving. And during the process of moving, my life changed completely. I started fostering and it was unexpected. It wasn't part of my plan, but it was amazing and life-changing. And if you're watching to my former foster kid, you know I love you. However, during that time, I was dealing with a lot. I was dealing with my apartment at the time, and I was going through a lot with the property management. That was not fun. And like I said, I started fostering 2 weeks before I was supposed to move. So the kid moved in, I had boxes everywhere. I was not, I was not fully in the best place, but I was doing what I could. And there were just some other changes and some grief I was going through as well. And my partner at the time was living in a different state. Like there was just like a lot of stuff going on all at the same time. But as time went on, I started paying attention to my body a little bit more. And that is when I found out that I had uterine fibroids. So this video is going to be talking about uterine fibroids. If you are someone who has gone through something similar, or if talking about like kids, pregnancy, if anything like that like is triggering for you, then this is probably not the video for you. But if you're someone that wants to hear what my experience was and maybe learn something, or if there's something that you're like, hold on a second, that sounds like me, this video is probably for you. So just wanted to give you guys that disclaimer before I get started. So I found out that I had uterine fibroids, but leading up to that, I was having like these symptoms that I had always had, but it felt amplified, and I no longer associated it with the things that I had always associated with. So since I was about 16, I always had heavy periods. I always had pain. That was just always something that like I struggled with. It wasn't until like I also got diagnosed later on in life with PMDD that I was like, oh, okay, then this makes sense. This makes sense. Like PMDD, if you don't know what that is, that's a separate conversation, but I struggle from PMDD. I've actually gotten it managed a lot better since I have treated the fibroids. So I will say to the PMDD gods, I appreciate you. But I was going through that, like those, like just a lot of changes in my body. Like pain just didn't feel the same. Like it felt worse and it felt more intense and amplified in ways that I had never experienced before. And then like my periods were starting to be heavier on days that usually starts to lighten. I was having accidents at work and like having to leave work early. It was not, it was really, really rough. I didn't know what was going on. And I stopped chalking it up to stress and all of those other things. I was like, no, this is definitely something bigger. So I, lucky enough, have a wonderful primary care physician, and I talked to her about it, and immediately she was like, nope, let's get you checked. Let's get you in with the OB. And I was like, okay. So I go to the OB and she's like, yeah, let's get you checked for an ultrasound because that's not good. That's not normal. And a lot of doctors, I'm lucky enough to say that the doctors that I have worked with didn't put me through this, but a lot of doctors will tell you that these symptoms are normal, that, you know, maybe go on birth control or take more ibuprofen or Tylenol. And like, as someone who has allergies to certain medications and things like that, like, and I have an autoimmune disease, like I have a lot of little things that I was just like, I got really, really lucky having doctors that in this situation listen to me, because I have had doctors in other situations, especially pertaining to my autoimmune disease, not listen. So she was like, let's get you in for an ultrasound. Now I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, an ultrasound? Like, I'm not pregnant. Like, the hell do I need an ultrasound for? But I'm like, okay, I guess. And so I go in for the ultrasound, and it was super emotional because the room is just really dark, and they're like, they can't tell you if they see anything. They're not supposed to. You have to wait until your results come in. And so now I'm waiting for results. And I want to say this was around like June, maybe May or June. I can't really recall. That timeline was just, it's such a blur at this point. But I had my ultrasound done and found out I had uterine fibroids. Uterine fibroids, if you don't know what they are benign tumors. They are usually benign and non-cancerous, usually. There are situations where they can be, so just keep that in mind. And I was like, okay, I'm reading my results, and I thought it just said, like, I saw the number 3, and I was like, oh, okay, so I have 3. Well, it said greater than 3. I think something in my mind was in denial, and I was ignoring the greater than symbol, and so I was just like, all right, wait, is the greater than this way it's this way for me? Don't try me. If you'd be like, oh, that's the less than symbol. Technically where I'm facing, it's this way. But anyway, so I go back to the OB, and she's like, let's talk about your results. And she's like, she's like, oh, you know, here are your options. For uterine fibroids, usually, you know, you have many options what you can do. You can go on medications that will help shrink them. They will not get rid of them, but they will shrink them. There's another process where you can get like a laparoscopic incision or surgery, and it's a small incision, and they remove the fibroids. Boom, boom, boom. That's what I was thinking I was gonna have, because in my head, I'm like, I got 3. She goes, but here are your options. Abdominal myomectomy. I'm like, what do you mean? So an abdominal myomectomy is essentially a C-section cut. And because of the amount of fibroids that I had, it was either that to remove them or a hysterectomy. I could go on medications to shrink them, but they're still there, and they're going to keep coming back, or, you know, whatever. So I was just like, okay. So I said to her, I was like, I thought I had 3. And she's like, you have more than 3. She's like, let's look at your ultrasound. And she said, anywhere you see a shadow is a fibroid. She shows me my uterus. My uterus was one big shadow. And I was like, I'm confused. She's like, these are all fibroids. I had 8 fibroids. I didn't know this at the time because she couldn't count them. So after my surgery, I found out I had 8 fibroids, but I had many fibroids, and my uterus expanded and stretched to 21 centimeters. centimeters, inches, 21 inches, my bad, 21 inches. And I was the size of a 5-month pregnant person, like 5 months. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like my uterus was what a 5-month pregnant person would be. And I was in absolute shock. And at this time, keep in mind, I'm finding out like, you know, fibroids can affect my ability to get pregnant, or have a safe pregnancy, healthy birth. They were affecting obviously my mental health was struggling, because after finding out about them, I definitely was struggling. And there were just so many things that was going through my head, and I was just sitting in this appointment by myself, like, what? Like, and I have to make a decision. I got to make it now. Like, that's literally what I was going through. Sorry, I just needed a moment. So that was tough. That was tough. Because I'm just sitting there thinking, like, I went in with this idea that I was going to have one kind of surgery, and I had never had surgery before. So I was already preparing myself, but I was like preparing myself for the best case scenario. And I was pretty much worst case scenario. So we scheduled, so she's like, I'm going to get you with a surgeon, and, you know, you can talk about your options further, but yeah. And I was just like, okay. So I go to my surgeon, phenomenal Black woman, amazing. She was so knowledgeable and so kind, and she made the process so gentle for me, and like, so like in the least traumatic way. Like, she was amazing. And she listened to me, and she talked to me for as long as I needed to talk, ask a million questions. My partner at the time was like on the phone asking her questions, and she was just like answering them. She was so amazing. And it was tough because like I'm going through all of this, and I'm estranged from a certain part of my family, like a side of my family. And those are the people that I wanted to go to first for some reason. And I couldn't. And I was going to, like, at the time, like, I was going to my partner's mom, talking to her every now and then, and just like seeking some kind of like nurture and support and love. And I was just struggling, honestly. Fibroids took a toll on my life for sure. My dad was really supportive and loving, obviously, at the time. And like my sister on my dad's side, also there for me. But I was also going through still so much, like I was going through a lot of financial hardships. I was stressed out. I was stressed out. Like I was maxed out, and I was busting my ass at work. I was trying to make money during the summertime because like as a teacher, a public school teacher at that, I was not getting paid in the summer. So I was trying to hustle and make some money as a server. I'm pushing my body beyond like means that I should be. It was a lot, but thankfully, after all of that time, getting ready for the surgery, I had a lot of support from my friends, my chosen family. Everyone banded together, made a meal train. So people had like scheduled themselves to, okay, hold on. Ironically, I just started getting pain in my incision area. So what the fuck? Okay. Got a little sharp pain, but I was getting support from my chosen family all around. And so I had surgery scheduled for September 18th, I believe. So I did get to start the school year. So that was cool, but telling my students like, hey, I'm about to be gone for 6 weeks, not ideal, but I did. And I, worked my ass off, made sure they were set for the 6 weeks I was going to be gone. And then it was time for surgery. So I went into surgery September 18th. I believe that was the date. And I came out alive. So that's great. But I found out the next day that I had 8 fibroids, one of them being about this big, huge. And I was in the hospital for about 2.5 days, recovery, or like, you know, getting up out of the bed, going to the bathroom, like learning how to like, you know, maneuver my body in certain ways. It was almost like I was relearning my body and like my strength. And it was a very emotional process. And my partner and their mom at the time was there for me when I was in the hospital, and, you know, a couple of days when I got out. And then it was just kind of back to me. I did have a lovely angel living here in my apartment at that time as well, helping me and taking care of me for those like 6 or 7-ish weeks. And during those 6 weeks, I was like here. Like I was here, I was sad, I was going through a lot, I was thinking about a lot. I had time to just sit and think, and it didn't feel good. So I wasn't making content. I didn't have the strength to make content. Like I couldn't. I was just here and like learning my body again, and having someone take care of me and bringing me food and giving me water and adjusting my pillows. And like I had to sleep on a body pillow, a wedge pillow, 2 pillows on each side. Like it was a lot. Like it was so like just life-changing, and it changed the way that I saw my body, and it changed the way that I saw myself. And I thought so much about how hard I was on myself for years, about my body, my appearance, my weight, all these things. And the year that I really wanted to lock in and focus on myself and do the most, I did the complete opposite, and I paid for it in a lot of ways. And also my body paid for it. And now I will say fibroids, you know, there's nothing that you can do to cause them. So they just happen, and they are common in Black women. They just happen, and they can come back. And that was like the scariest piece of information. But also such a healing piece of information, because it made me feel like, damn, okay, so there was nothing I was doing that caused this. Because as someone, like the way that I am, I blame myself easily for a lot of things. So I was like, oh, maybe it was the way I was eating, or the way like I was so stressed out. And it was like, no, like this just happens, and you happen to just have them. And not having like my mom to talk to about it, or, you know, like there's so much, like I had to learn about my body this way and through other people and things. And it was really, really, really challenging. But also through this, I healed a lot, and I learned so much more about my trauma and where my trauma lives. And I feel like having the fibroids removed also was so metaphoric in a way. And it allowed me to connect with my womb in a way that I had not. And I had decided to like keep my uterus because I didn't know if I wanted to have kids or not. And I didn't want to take away that opportunity for myself. But it also like gave me a chance to just reconnect with a part of my body that I had disconnected from at such a young age. So, yeah, the process itself was really tough, but overall I did get through it. And by the end of the 6th week, I did go through something that was really, 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 really hard. And so I had to stay home for 1 more week to get my mental health together. But I was struggling that week, and I was trying so hard to get myself ready for work again and going back into the real world, and facing kids and being on for kids and being there and reconnecting with life. And it was hard, but I did it. I actually got a second therapist, and she's amazing. So now I'm working with 2 therapists, and they've been so helpful and just helping me learn about so many things I tucked away for so long, that I think like I just wouldn't have thought to think about or talk about or push myself to grow through if the surgery didn't happen, and if things following that didn't happen, and things prior to that didn't happen. Like, I'm able to connect with my body in a way that I had not before. So I'm not trying to glorify fibroids, because that is not the case. This was tragic and traumatic. And I do fear them coming back, but I'm trying to stay present as I look at my vision board behind this camera. Like, my hormones are regulated, my body is healthy, my mind is creative, my soul is calm. Like, those are the words I'm looking at right now. And I'm connecting with myself in a way that I had not before. And while it's a little scary and sad and emotional, it is very rewarding and healing. And I feel like a sense of rebirth. But yeah, anyway, so if you or someone you know is struggling, if you're like, damn, some of these symptoms, I'm kind of scared. What if that's me? It doesn't hurt to get checked. I know that, like I said, healthcare can be a very touchy topic, and it is not always, it's not easily accessible at all. But if you are able to get checked, it's really important to. Fibroids are not widely talked about right now, and I am hoping that with time, people feel more comfortable to speak up about them, because learning about them by finding out that you have them, I wish that on anyone. So thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you to all of my friends and my chosen family and loved ones that were there for me throughout this process. And God forbid they come back. I know what I need to do. And I know that that process is going to be really, really tough and life-changing again. But I feel more prepared for any and everything now at this point. I now know that, like, my body, she is strong and she is capable and she is healing. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you in my next video. Bye. Bye, guys.